Hi everyone, and welcome to the channel. You have got to see this. I was given this set of birds hoping that I could do something with them, but the manufacturer thought that it was a good idea to give them red eyes, and this one looks really angry. I don't know if they're angry birds or they're frowny birds, but today we're going to transform them with skins. So let's get started. My inspiration today are these adorable little chinois blue and white birds. I love chinois, I love the blue and white, and I love birds. So this for me is a no-brainer. I'm going to try to transform our scary bird into something that looks a little bit more like this. Very delicate and the pretty blue and white pattern, but I'm going to be using skins to do that. If you don't know what a skin is, it is essentially just dried acrylic paint. Pour painters have a lot of them. They let their paint dry. If they have a smooth surface, they're able to peel that paint up and they can use it for projects. I pour paint and I do have skins from that, but I also make skins for things, and that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to make a skin because I don't have skins large enough to cover a bird this size. So I'm going to make a skin. And in order to do that, I'm going to need a few things. The first thing I'm going to need is a silicone mat, and this is a silicone mat. It's not particularly clean, but it is on a tray, and this is my white paint. It is just Floetrol, water, and titanium white mixed a little thicker, 2-to-1, 2.5-to-1, with a little more paint in this because I want it to be thicker and hold the paint. And I'm going to use my blue paint, which I have mixed up, but you can use pre-mixed paint. Here's one that I have mixed. You can see it's kind of thick, and it's going to be on top of my white paint. And you can use pre-mixed paint, but I'm not. I just mixed a color that looks just like this. That's one of my favorite colors. I mixed this one with phthalocyanine blue, and Payne's gray is actually what these two colors are together, just mixed with a little bit of water and a lot of Floetrol. But I just took it in a bottle so that I'm ready to use it, and it's a little bit more controlled. I made a couple of mock-ups just to make sure I could get a uniform design, and so this is the skin we're going to be making today. Since I do have other videos on how to make skins, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I did want to show you how I made this skin. I went ahead and put down my white paint right down here. I'm making a huge skin, actually. This is going to be a fairly large skin, but this is not going to be a bloom skin, which you may have seen me make before. This is going to be just a regular Floetrol and paint skin. And I am just using my tray. Now I have a very large tray, and you might not be able to see that, but that is what the silicone mat is on. And I'm using the tray to go ahead and stretch my paint. Now I'm stretching my paint this way because I am not going to be spinning it. I cannot spin it. I guess I could have spent the white paint, but I cannot spin the blue paint or I will mess up my design. So I already have to have a very thin layer of paint before I put my secondary color on top of it, because otherwise it may crack. I don't want this to crack. You can use GAC 800, I guess, but I'm not going to, and I don't usually have trouble with it cracking. So I'm just going to be stretching my paint and getting out any little gunk that you see, because you don't want gunk in it either when you're doing a project like this. Just gonna add a little bit more paint so that I have enough to stretch across the entire tray, which is fairly large, as I said before. And once I've got that stretched to the corners, then I can add my secondary color. So I am going to be adding dots all the way across and in a straight line, or as straight as I can make it, which is probably not going to be very straight, and try to get some spaced dots all the way across. I'm going to fill the entire area with these dots, and you can see I'm already making some dots that are larger and moving a little down. I really can't draw a straight line. I can draw, I just can't draw a straight line. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this whole space, and you can see some of them are running because they were a little bit too big, but in the end it's not going to matter. And there's an oopsie. I will go back and fix that. It's really, like I said, not going to matter in the end, but this is a lot of dots. It took a lot of hand strength, which I'm having some trouble with right now. So I'm just going to clean this up just a little bit. I just can't stand it, even though it really doesn't matter. But the cleaner and neater you are, the better. I'm going to take my skewer now and I'm just going to start going through the dots. So this is the first step. You may have done this with chocolate before. Well, you can do this also with your pour painting. Okay, so now I'm going to fill in a few more dots because I felt like it was a little bit sparse in some places, and I'm going for a very intricate little pattern here. And could I have been neater and really taken my time with this? Yes. So the more time you take with it, the neater you'll be. And now I'm just going to go the other way with my skewer, kind of go back through the dots the other direction. And since my lines are not that straight, that's a little bit of a problem, but I'm going to work with it and just make lines all the way down because it's really not going to matter. And now I'm just filling in a few places where I didn't like. So I'm just kind of doing a few more cross marks. And now I'm going to put little circles. And it's just going to be the end of the way I'm doing the pattern here. And I get kind of tired and make my circles a little large. And here it is. Now I'm going to let this dry for a day or two, and then it should be ready to go. It may take 3 days. And here it is, dry, completely dry. Now, I did put my finger in it, trying to test it out the first day, going, oh, it looks like it's dry. It's not. Trust me, it won't be. You'll need to let it dry for at least 2 days, possibly 3 days, depending on where you are. The pattern moved just a little bit. You can see it kind of moved away from the middle, but it will work. And these big skins, very easy to get off of the silicone. If you're using silicone, you can also use freezer paper to adhere your skin to. And now we're going to see how we're going to cover our little bird. Okay, little birdie, let's see. Now, I'm going to kind of just fit this around, look at the pattern, see where it's more even since I have a little bit of unevenness there. I'm also knowing that I am going to do a break around the little beak area because I'm going to be adding a beak to the bird or an extra piece. So I can just now cut the piece of skin that I need because I don't want to work with the skin this big. They are very unruly and they like to stick together. If you've ever worked with skins, they will quickly stick to itself or to another skin. And I'm going to be using diamond glaze as my glue. You've probably seen me use this before if you watch my videos, and I have it in another little separate container. And then I have this little cardboard container. Now it dries super hard. This is the diamond glaze, so you can see it's clear and it's hard. And we're going to use diamond glaze for more than one purpose today. So let's see. Now, I wanted to start at the face, so I'm going to kind of just fit it around, make sure it's going to work before I begin gluing. So once I've kind of fiddled with it, know that it's going to wrap correctly, and I know how it's going to go around. I'm literally wrapping around the bird. Then I can get my diamond glaze, and I can start applying my glue. I'm just going to use my fingers to rub that in around the bird. You are going to see the indentions from the feathers in this. I guess I could have gotten rid of that by painting over it and with something that would fill in all the gaps, but I'm just going to leave them. I'm just rubbing in with my fingers. The only problem with rubbing in with your fingers is you have to be very careful to not get that glue all over the outside. You don't really want that all over the outside of the bird too because it can leave little places on the skin. So I'm just going to smooth this in, starting from the back and working around the tail. If you can't tell what it is because it's basically under a big sheet of plastic, that's what I'm doing. And I'm going to little by little go around this, gluing and pressing in my skin, being very careful not to break the skin. The skin can be very delicate if you've made it too thin, and also with the glue, it tends to break the skin down just a little bit and it makes it malleable, but it also makes it vulnerable to tearing. So you have to be fairly careful with this, especially with fresher skins. And now I'm ready to kind of cut away some of the skin. That's kind of the scary part. If you're not careful, you cut too much. But I've got to cut around the little feet of the bird, and I've got to cut off the excess and fold it underneath. And I will do a treatment underneath so you will not see any of the edges that are left from the skin. So it's lots of little cuts. Here I am still cutting right around the tail of the bird. I know it's kind of hard to see that, but it is the tail of the bird, and you just have to make the cuts in order to turn under the skin. Now I'm going to show you the abbreviated version because it takes quite a while to cut each piece and fold it under and glue it down and smooth it down and make sure that there's no wrinkles, because that's what you're doing. It's very easy to get a wrinkle in a skin. So check it out, listen to a little bit of music, and join me to see the result. Okay, that was a feat. It took quite a while, but everything is glued down. And now we can move on to putting a beak on the bird. He has a beak, but this is the place where everything came together, where all the skins kind of coalesced. So I have got a little gold skin here, and I am going to make a beak out of the gold skin that covers up everything so you don't see where any of the places where the skin comes together is. So I'm just going to cut it kind of in a cylindrical kind of fashion, and I'm going to wrap his existing beak with it and just glue it into place, making sure that I have plenty of glue on there. And I'm going to press that on very hard, just kind of make sure it's shaped right around the beak, and we'll hold. And there we are. There is our birdie. Now what I'm going to do is use my diamond glaze again, pretty much as a varnish. Now you can use varnish. I like diamond glaze because it dries so hard. It's pretty much dries kind of like resin does, and you can use resin for this. But I'm just taking my fingers and I am taking my diamond glaze and applying it to my bird all the way around. It is nice and thick, and it works great. It's nice and thick now because I've kind of had it out, and so it does a great job of making a nice shiny coating. And since it dries so hard, it protects the skin completely, and making sure even we have it even on his little beak. And it dries pretty quick. Now once he's done, I told you I was going to cover up everything on the bottom, and I am with this little piece of velvet. This is a scrap of the velvet with a backing on it. You can buy whole packs of it. If I can find it on Amazon, I will put it in the link below. And you just trace out whatever your object is. In this case, it's sort of hard to trace out because it's a bird, but I'm going to do it. And then you just cut it out, and you're able to peel back the backing, and there's an adhesive, and it just adheres right to whatever it is, which I absolutely love about this stuff. You just cut it to shape and then stick it on. The velvet is the easy part. He is complete now. I did add some eyes just by cutting off a little bit of the blue from leftover skin, and he turned out pretty well. Now, was he a little bit complicated? Maybe, but he is surely darn cute. So here he is. What do you think? How do you use skins? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, hit like and subscribe. And watch these videos. Thanks for watching. Bye now.